Somewhere out there, right now, a grown adult is asking Google if sneezing too hard can detach their soul. And the terrifying part? That's not even close to the dumbest medical question the internet has had to endure. Instead of calling a doctor, people turn to a search bar like it's a crystal ball for human anatomy. The results? A digital museum of fear, confusion, and absolute nonsense. And trust me, if you think that's the peak of stupidity, you haven't seen anything yet. 1. Yes, apparently chlorine is now a fertility drug. The idea here is that sperm are just hanging out in the deep end like Michael Phelps, waiting for their gold medal moment. People actually ask if a casual swim with friends is the same as a group trip to a fertility clinic. Let me be crystal clear. If pool water could get people pregnant, every Holiday Inn in Florida would have been declared a maternity ward decades ago. Picture the lifeguard announcing, "Attention swimmers, we've reached critical conception levels. Please exit the pool and collect your complimentary baby." Reality check. Sperm die faster in chlorine than your phone does when you forget it's in your pocket. And if you're genuinely worried that Marco Polo could turn into Maury Povich, then maybe Google isn't your biggest problem. 2. Apparently some people think the human body is basically Mr. Potato Head, where one hard sneeze and suddenly you're holding your eyeballs like loose marbles. The truth is, your eyes are locked in with muscles, nerves, and fat tissue. Basically bubble wrap, designed by evolution. Sneezing won't eject them unless you're starring in the world's worst magic trick. But I get it. Movies have taught us that heads can explode from sneezes. So why not eyeballs? Here's the thing. If sneezing really did launch your eyeballs, the allergy season would look like a horror movie. Springtime wouldn't mean flowers and pollen. It would mean entire parks filled with rolling eyeballs like a Pixar short directed by Stephen King. And yet, people still ask this question, like they're one hay fever attack away from starring in an eyeball-themed Final Destination spin-off. Spoiler, your eyes aren't leaving your face. The only thing at risk is your dignity when you sneeze in public and sound like a broken trumpet. 3. Yes, because apparently gas is now a neurological reset button. Someone actually typed this into Google, as if the digestive system and the brain share a USB port. The logic must be, big fart equals brain reboot, like you just Control-Alt-deleted your entire childhood. Imagine the medical records. Patient suffers from severe flatulence-induced amnesia. Believes he is now a French nobleman, refuses to pay taxes. Real science says no, but let's not ruin the fun. What's actually happening is that straining too hard could, in rare cases, cause fainting. But memory loss? Only if your most cherished memory is of the person who just heard you do it. And let's be honest, this theory was probably invented by some guy who forgot his anniversary and blamed it on Taco Bell. If that excuse ever works, I'll eat a bean burrito live on camera and see if I forget my own name. Spoiler, still waiting. 4. Someone once asked if cracking your knuckles causes arthritis, which is basically the medical equivalent of, if you cross your eyes too long, will they get stuck like that? Spoiler, no. You don't magically curse your joints every time you flex like you're warming up for an imaginary arm wrestling tournament. The noise is just gas bubbles popping in your joints. It's not your skeleton filing a complaint. But thanks to decades of nagging parents, people still believe every knuckle crack is a countdown to a wheelchair. If that were true, chiropractors would be legally classified as supervillains. Imagine one adjustment, and suddenly you're signing up for early retirement in a nursing home. The actual risk? Pretty much zero. The only real danger is annoying everyone around you until they start Googling whether homicide becomes justifiable after the 50th pop in a row. So, no, arthritis won't show up because of your knuckles, but a divorce might. 5. People genuinely ask if swallowing gum means it stays in your stomach for 7 years. 7 years. Like gum is secretly a government spy that takes up permanent residence in your digestive tract. This myth is so popular that kids grew up imagining their intestines looking like the floor of a movie theater. Reality check. Gum passes through your system just like everything else. It doesn't set up camp and pay rent. If our stomachs actually hoarded gum, surgeons would be pulling out entire bubblegum walls like some kind of Willy Wonka crime scene. The truth is boring. Gum mostly passes undigested, like corn's weird cousin. But boring doesn't stop people from asking Google if they're now carrying a 7-year-old piece of doublemint, like a gastrointestinal time capsule. So next time someone says, "Don't swallow gum, it'll stay in there forever," feel free to reply, "Cool, then I'm basically a walking vending machine." 6. Someone typed into Google, "Can I get brain damage from holding in a sneeze?" Which makes me wonder how often people are testing this theory in the first place. Sure, stifling a sneeze can cause some weird pressure and, in extremely rare cases, some damage. But you're not going to give yourself a lobotomy in aisle 6 of Walmart. The idea that one little stifled achoo could scramble your brain is about as logical as thinking hiccups can rearrange your DNA. And yet, people worry. They imagine sneezes like nuclear explosions being contained inside their skulls, ready to blow like Wile E. Coyote's dynamite stash. Doctors will tell you, worst case, you might pop a blood vessel in your eye or your nose. That's it. No, you're not suddenly forgetting math or speaking fluent Latin because you pinched your nostrils shut. But let's be real. If holding in sneezes did cause brain damage, half of allergy season would look like a zombie outbreak. 7. Another favorite. Can you catch STDs from a toilet seat? Because apparently, germs are sitting there like tiny assassins waiting for your bare skin. Reality check. Viruses don't leap out of porcelain like it's a haunted house, but that hasn't stopped generations of paranoid Googlers from believing public restrooms are basically Tinder for bacteria. Look, if STDs spread from toilets, then every rest stop on I-95 would require a hazmat team and a priest. The truth is, those germs don't survive long outside the human body. A toilet seat is more likely to give you regret about life choices than chlamydia, but paranoia dies hard. People are still convinced their trip to Olive Garden turned into a one-way ticket to the CDC. So, if you're Googling this, relax. You're not getting a mystery infection from the bathroom. The only thing you're catching is the judgment of everyone waiting for you to finish panicking in the stall. 8. Somebody out there Googled, "Can you die from hiccups?" Which feels less like a medical question and more like the plot of a rejected Final Destination sequel. To be fair, hiccups are annoying enough to make you wish for death after about 5 minutes. But in reality, they're just harmless spasms of your diaphragm, not the Grim Reaper knocking politely at your chest. People imagine hiccups lasting forever, like a cosmic punishment for forgetting to knock on wood. Yes, there are rare cases where hiccups last for days or even years, but they're usually tied to an underlying condition. Not because you drank your soda too fast. The idea of hiccups being lethal is kind of hilarious, though. Cause of death: hiccuping too aggressively at a dinner party. Number: the real danger isn't dying from hiccups. It's how many friends you'll lose when you sound like a squeaky dog toy for an entire road trip. 9. One of the most common Google gems. Can you get cancer from Wi-Fi? Apparently, people believe routers are basically tiny microwave ovens plotting your demise one cat video at a time. Never mind that Wi-Fi signals are weaker than a flashlight across the street. The paranoia makes it sound like every Starbucks is secretly a tumor factory, and every college dorm should be quarantined. If Wi-Fi caused cancer, half the planet would have gone extinct around the time Netflix added autoplay. Real science says, nope, not a thing. But conspiracy lovers eat this up because it's way easier to blame your router than admit you've been living off Doritos and 4 hours of sleep. Wi-Fi doesn't give you cancer. It just gives you lag during Zoom calls, which is arguably worse. But hey, if you're scared, go ahead and wrap your router in tinfoil. At least your neighbors will get better signal. 10. Then there's, can I sweat out calories instead of exercising? Ah yes, the fantasy that a sauna is a weight loss machine and not just a human crockpot. This is the same logic that fuels every detox wrap scam where people pay $200 to be shrink-wrapped like leftovers. Sweating makes you lose water weight. Temporarily, that's it. The only pounds you're losing are from dehydration, which you'll immediately gain back the second you drink anything. But people want shortcuts, so they ask if sitting still in a hot box is basically CrossFit for lazy people. Spoiler, it's not. If sweating burned calories, gamers in unair-conditioned basements would be Olympic athletes. The truth? Exercise works. Sweating doesn't. Unless you count sweating in public as burning social calories, in which case, yes, you just lost 50 points of dignity. 11. Someone actually typed, "Can my dog catch my depression?" because apparently sadness is now contagious like the flu. Look, your dog can definitely mirror your vibes, but it's not Googling therapists because you listen to too much Adele. This question comes from the same school of thought as, can cats be atheist? Technically possible to ask, completely insane to care about. Yes, dogs can pick up on your energy. If you're sad all the time, they might seem low energy too. But depression isn't some airborne virus drifting from your brain into theirs. If it were, every golden retriever forced to watch cable news would be clinically miserable. So no, your dog doesn't have depression. He's just tired of watching you mope instead of throwing the ball. Honestly, the cure might be less Prozac, more fetch. 12. Google has fielded this classic. Can you get fat from looking at food? Oh yes, the power of visual calories. Apparently, staring at a slice of cheesecake is the same as eating it. If that were true, I'd have gained 200 pounds just from scrolling Instagram. Let's be clear, your eyeballs are not connected to your stomach. You don't absorb calories like some kind of snack vampire. But this question keeps popping up because humans love blaming magic instead of math. The idea that staring at donuts could make you heavier is both hilarious and depressing, because honestly, it would explain a lot. Imagine gyms banning dessert posters because they're basically contraband. Imagine courts ruling, "Your Honor, my client didn't eat the burger. He just looked at it too seductively." No, food doesn't make you fat when you look at it. Food makes you fat when you inhale 3 pizzas and blame the lighting. 13. Another beauty. Can cracking your neck kill you? Technically, in the tiniest fraction of cases, yes, it could injure an artery. But the way people ask it makes it sound like every crack is Russian roulette. Reality check. If that were true, chiropractors would have body counts higher than history's worst villains. Picture Yelp reviews. Great service. Realigned my spine. Dropped dead instantly. 3 stars. Yes, there's a small risk if you wrench your neck like you're trying to audition for The Exorcist. But casual pops aren't ticking time bombs. The worst thing you'll usually get is a dirty look from your coworkers when you sound like you're chewing gravel during a meeting. If you're terrified of cracking your neck, fine, don't do it. But don't act like you're a daredevil every time you tilt your head at a weird angle. You're not living dangerously. You're just annoying everyone in a quiet room. 14. Someone once Googled, can you get pregnant from kissing? And not in the cutesy, innocent health class way. No, some people genuinely believe saliva is just another delivery service for sperm, like FedEx but with more tongue. Imagine that logic. One sloppy makeout session and suddenly you're expecting triplets. If that were true, every high school prom would have ended with a maternity ward. Reality check. Sperm doesn't teleport through your mouth, detour past your digestive system, and somehow file for immigration in your uterus. It's not a road trip, it's biology. The only thing kissing can give you is bad breath, or, at worst, mono, also known as the makeout plague. So no, you can't get pregnant from a kiss. But if you're worried about that, maybe kissing shouldn't be your priority. Maybe Google basic sex ed instead. 15. Another gem. Can you get high from drinking hand sanitizer? Yes, someone genuinely thought rubbing alcohol is the new craft cocktail. Spoiler, you can't get high. You can get blind. Hand sanitizer isn't tequila, it's poison with aloe vera. Drinking it doesn't make you cool or edgy, it makes you a cautionary tale. People imagine themselves sipping Purell martinis like James Bond during a pandemic. In reality, they're just earning themselves a fast-track ticket to dialysis. The only buzz you'll get is from the ambulance sirens. And yet, here we are, Google getting flooded with, "Can I party with sanitizer?" Questions like, we didn't already survive an entire era where people ate Tide Pods for clout. Humanity doesn't need another epidemic, it needs a babysitter. 16. Someone somewhere asked, can your stomach explode if you eat too much rice? Not steak, not chili, not all-you-can-eat shrimp, rice. As if one extra bowl of jasmine is basically a ticking bomb in your intestines. The fear seems to come from the fact that rice expands when cooked, so people imagine it continuing to swell inside them like some kind of internal balloon animal. Newsflash, your stomach is not a crockpot. Once rice hits stomach acid, it's not inflating like one of those novelty sponge dinosaurs in water. Yes, overeating anything can make you miserable. But explode? Unless you plan on eating 40 pounds of sushi in one sitting, the only explosion happening is in your dignity when you unbutton your jeans at the buffet. So, no, rice isn't a grenade. The only thing exploding is your willpower. 17. And finally, this one is beautiful. Can you get radiation poisoning from microwaving food? People imagine microwaves are basically nuclear reactors tucked into the corner of their kitchens, slowly turning hot pockets into Chernobyl. Let's be clear, a microwave oven uses non-ionizing radiation, the same kind of harmless energy as light and radio waves. It doesn't make your lasagna glow in the dark. If microwaves gave you radiation poisoning, everyone who reheated leftovers since the 1970s would be glowing like characters from The Simpsons. But no, that leftover pizza isn't killing you. It's just disappointing you in new ways. The only actual danger is burning your tongue because you underestimated how molten the cheese got in exactly 4 seconds. So relax. The scariest thing about microwaves isn't radiation. It's realizing you've just eaten week-old spaghetti at 3 a.m. 18. People ask Google, can you get worms from eating too much sugar? Because apparently gummy bears are now farm-to-table parasites. The myth seems to come from old-school parenting scare tactics. Don't eat candy, you'll get worms. No, you'll just get cavities, regret, and maybe type 2 diabetes, but definitely not worms. Worms don't live in Skittles. They don't climb into your bloodstream and set up a candy Airbnb. If sugar caused worms, Willy Wonka would have been a horror film, not a children's classic. Picture it. Augustus Gloop gets sucked into a chocolate river, but instead of a funny song, the Oompa Loompas are calling pest control. The truth is, worms come from contaminated food, not Hershey bars. So if you're still asking this question, I've got bad news. The only worm in your system is the one living rent-free inside your brain. 19. Here's a winner. Can you swallow your own tongue while sleeping? If that were true, we'd lose half the population every nap time. People think tongues are like socks in the dryer, just mysteriously disappearing when you're not paying attention. The reality is your tongue is anchored by muscles. It's not going rogue like a pet snake trying to escape. Sure, if you have a seizure or a medical condition, your tongue can block your airway, but swallowing it? Unless you're secretly a python, you're safe. And yet, people panic. Google this like their tongues are plotting a midnight escape mission. If tongues really could be swallowed, dentists would have to hand out retrieval kits. Instead, the only thing happening is snoring so loud your neighbors file a noise complaint. Your tongue isn't trying to kill you, your sleep apnea might, but your tongue is innocent. 20. Someone once asked, can I die from holding my pee too long? Honestly, this one's half fair. Yes, technically, holding pee forever isn't healthy. But the way people phrase it makes it sound like one long car ride is basically Russian roulette with your bladder. Spoiler, most of us have survived concerts, road trips, and Thanksgiving dinners with nowhere to go, and somehow we didn't keel over in the driveway. Holding it too long can cause infections or damage over time, but it's not an instant death sentence. Yet people imagine their bladder as a water balloon ready to pop like a sad carnival trick. If that were true, every traffic jam would look like a battlefield. So no, you won't explode from one bathroom delay. But if you keep testing it, sure, maybe your kidneys will file a complaint. The real danger? Missing your turnoff because you were too busy Googling this nonsense. 21. Then there's the timeless classic. Can you get pregnant from sitting on a public toilet? As if sperm are hanging out on the seat like Uber drivers waiting for their next gig. People picture some poor woman sitting down at an airport restroom and boom, instant immaculate conception. That's not how biology works. Sperm don't survive long outside the body, and they certainly don't teleport through denim like Wi-Fi signals. If toilet seats were secretly fertility clinics, every gas station bathroom would be doubling as a maternity ward. Reality check. The only thing you're picking up from a public toilet is a deep regret for your life choices. You want to fear something? Fear the smell, fear the germs, fear the fact that you had to hover awkwardly for 10 minutes like a contestant on American Ninja Warrior. Pregnancy? Not on the menu. But tetanus? Maybe. 22. Somebody once Googled, can my liver grow back if I drink too much? Ah yes, the drunk person's equivalent of asking if cheat days cancel calories. Technically, yes, your liver does have some regenerative powers. It's like Wolverine, but slower, sadder, and way less cool. But people asking this usually aren't curious about medical miracles. They're hoping for a permission slip to keep downing fireball shots like it's hydration. Newsflash, your liver is not a rechargeable battery. Keep abusing it, and eventually it'll just file for bankruptcy. Yet folks act like their insides are running on Marvel logic. Don't worry, bro, it'll grow back. No, it won't. At least not forever. If it did, AA meetings would just be brunch. 23. Here's a favorite. Can a fart catch on fire? First of all, congratulations. You've rediscovered science. Yes, methane is flammable. And yes, some idiots have lit their own gas on fire, usually followed by a trip to the ER and a new nickname they'll never live down. But the fact that people ask Google this like it's an untapped energy source is hilarious. Imagine Elon Musk pitching flatulence-powered Teslas. The sad truth is, it can happen, but it's not worth the second-degree burns to your dignity. If you really need to test this, go ahead. But be prepared to explain to firefighters why your living room looks like a barbecue accident sponsored by Taco Bell. 24. Someone actually asked, "Can you sweat blood if you exercise too hard?" Which sounds like the plot of a bad horror movie. Cardio, the reckoning. The truth? Yes, there's a rare condition called hematidrosis where you can literally sweat blood, but it usually happens under extreme stress, not because you spent 15 minutes on the treadmill pretending you're Rocky. The average person asking this just wants to know if CrossFit can turn them into Carrie. Spoiler: no. The only thing most of us sweat during exercise is regret, self-loathing, and maybe the will to keep living through burpees. Blood? That's just your imagination begging you to stop. If sweating blood were common, gyms would come with mops instead of yoga mats. 25. And then, can you get addicted to carrots? Because apparently Bugs Bunny was one hit away from an intervention. People worry that eating too many carrots will make them junkies, hooked on beta-carotene like it's meth. Now, eating too many can give your skin an orange tint. That's true. But addiction? Unless you're meeting shady farmers in dark alleys for your next crunchy fix, you're not addicted. The idea is hilarious, though. Hi, my name's Mike, and I've been clean from carrots for 3 weeks. The withdrawals are brutal. Sometimes I dream of ranch dip. No, carrots aren't addictive. They're just a vegetable. If you think you're hooked, congratulations. You've discovered the healthiest fake problem in history. 26. One of my personal favorites. Can you get pregnant from swallowing? Yeah. Someone out there truly believes the human body is a Rube Goldberg machine where sperm takes the scenic route from the stomach to the uterus. Let me break this gently. Your digestive system and your reproductive system are not neighbors. They're not even on speaking terms. Food goes one way, babies come from another. If this worked, every awkward teenager in the world would be testifying at paternity court with the defense. But, Your Honor, she only swallowed. Number. That's not how anatomy works. If sperm could survive stomach acid, they'd be classified as Marvel superheroes, not biological leftovers. 27. Then there's, can you break your penis? Sadly for men everywhere, yes, you can. It's called a penile fracture, and it usually happens during particularly enthusiastic activities. And yet, the way people ask Google makes it sound like they're worried about tripping over a curb and snapping it in half like a breadstick. Reality, it doesn't have bones, but you can tear tissue, which is painful, humiliating, and almost always involves an ER visit where you explain to a very bored doctor that your night went horribly wrong. Think less football injury and more instant karma. And no, wearing sweatpants is not protective gear. 28. Someone once asked, "Can I die if I stop breathing while holding my breath?" First of all, yes. That's the entire concept of being alive. It's like asking, if I stop eating, will I get hungry? Congratulations, you've just rediscovered biology. Breath holding can make you pass out, but your body usually forces you to breathe again, unless you're underwater. Then yes, you can die. But the fact that this needed to be Googled means someone was sitting there, testing the limits, and thought, better check with the internet before I finish this experiment. If Darwin had Wi-Fi, he'd have written a whole new chapter just about this question. 29. Another great one. Can shaving your hair make it grow back thicker? This myth has been around since cavemen first invented razors out of sharp rocks. Spoiler: no, shaving doesn't change your hair's thickness. It just cuts it blunt, so it feels stubbly when it grows back. But people are convinced their peach fuzz is evolving into a werewolf beard because of one shave. If that were true, bald guys everywhere would be mowing their scalps like lawns and sprouting full manes overnight. Imagine Rogaine commercials just showing a dude shaving his head repeatedly until he looks like Fabio. Sadly, science doesn't work that way. Shaving doesn't make hair thicker, it just makes you look like a porcupine in progress. 30. And then the classic, can you swallow spiders in your sleep? Oh yes, the nightmare fuel myth that claims you swallow 8 spiders a year while snoozing. First of all, no. Spiders don't wander into your mouth like it's an Airbnb. Your breath, your movements, your snoring, all of it tells them to stay the hell away. They're not volunteering for kamikaze missions down your throat. This myth survives because it's horrifying, not because it's true. But people keep Googling it, as if their bedroom is secretly fear factor. If it were real, dentists would be finding cobwebs during cleanings. Sleep peacefully. Your mouth is not a spider buffet. Unless you eat Taco Bell at midnight, in which case, maybe. 31. Someone genuinely asked, can I lose weight by eating toilet paper? And honestly, if that's your diet plan, maybe weight loss isn't your biggest problem. The logic must be 0 calories, lots of fiber. Perfect. Except toilet paper isn't food. It doesn't digest, it doesn't nourish, and it doesn't make you skinny. It just makes you the weirdest person in a public restroom. Doctors call it pica, a condition where people crave non-food items. But Google sees it more often as, help, I ate Charmin, what now? Here's what now. You go viral as the idiot who thought 2-ply was a health plan. Forget keto, paleo, or intermittent fasting. This is the toilet roll cleanse, and the only thing it flushes out is your dignity. 32. Then we've got, like, can I drink my own pee to stay hydrated? Thanks, Bear Grylls, for inspiring an entire generation of survival idiots. Technically, yes, you can. But should you? Number. Urine is basically your body's trash water. Drinking it is like re-downloading files you just deleted because they were viruses. Sure, in a dire survival situation, it might keep you alive for a moment, but Googling this usually isn't coming from stranded explorers. It's coming from bored people in suburbia thinking they've unlocked a free energy hack. Spoiler, you're not recycling, you're just gross. If water is really that scarce, maybe Google nearest faucet instead. 33. One timeless gem. Can you get drunk from sniffing alcohol? Technically, yes. Vapors can hit your bloodstream. But the fact that people ask this shows just how far humanity will go to avoid paying for shots. It's always some broke college kid wondering if inhaling Smirnoff fumes is the same as drinking. Spoiler, it's not. It's faster, riskier, and way dumber. Imagine going to a bar and everyone's just huffing margaritas through straws like they're vaping tequila. Look, if your alcohol strategy involves nostrils instead of mouths, you've already lost. The hangover won't be from booze, it'll be from shame. 34. Someone out there typed, can you live without a brain? First of all, apparently yes, because you managed to ask that question. Now, medically, no, you cannot. Your brain runs the whole operation. But the number of people acting like they're proving otherwise is staggering. Every bad driver, every person yelling at fast food workers, every reality TV contestant, they're all walking, talking evidence against this question. It's less a medical inquiry and more a philosophical one. How little brain activity can you have and still get a driver's license? Spoiler, the bar is low, 35. And here's a beauty. Can you cough up a lung? The short answer is no. Lungs are attached inside your chest. They're not rolling around like spare change. But this myth persists because coughing feels like your organs are trying to escape. Still, the visual of someone hacking and suddenly holding a lung like a wet balloon is peak nightmare fuel. If that were real, ERS would look like butcher shops. The truth is, at worst, you cough up mucus, blood, or your will to live, not the entire organ. So no, your lungs aren't coming out. But keep coughing like a chain-smoking goose, and you'll wish they could. 36. Someone Googled, can loud music damage your kidneys? Because apparently bass drops now rattle your organs like maracas. Here's a fun fact. Your kidneys don't care about your Spotify playlist. They're too busy filtering your bad diet and questionable life choices. Loud music can damage your ears, sure. But unless you're standing inside a speaker the size of a house, your kidneys aren't vibrating out of your body like loose Lego bricks. If this were true, every nightclub would double as a dialysis clinic. The only organ in danger from loud music is your brain, because you're clearly not using it. 37. Then there's, can you choke to death on your own spit? Technically, yes, but only if you're incredibly unlucky or incredibly bad at swallowing, which frankly explains a lot. Your saliva is designed to be swallowed. That's literally the point. The fact that people fear their own spit like it's an assassin hiding in their throat is amazing. Yes, you can aspirate and cough, but dying from it? That's about as rare as choking on air. Which, let's be honest, some people probably also Google. If saliva really were lethal, dentists would need hazmat suits. Instead, they just need patience while you sit there drowning in your own drool. 38. A classic. Can I catch diabetes from someone else? Because apparently diabetes is now airborne, like the flu. Spoiler, no, it's not contagious. You don't catch diabetes from sharing a soda. It's not lurking in public restrooms waiting to pounce. This myth comes from people who don't understand the difference between diseases and conditions. If diabetes were contagious, Thanksgiving dinners would be classified as biological warfare. Imagine the CDC warning. Stay indoors, there's a diabetes outbreak at Golden Corral. Number, you can't catch it. You just inherit bad genetics, worse diets, or both. Blame the cheesecake, not your neighbor. 39. Another beauty. Can you get cancer from deodorant? Because clearly the armpit is ground zero for corporate evil. This myth has been floating around for years, that antiperspirants clog sweat glands and magically mutate cells into tumors. Reality? Zero scientific proof. But paranoia loves deodorant because chemicals sound scarier than smelling like a goat. People still ask, still panic, and still post conspiracy rants online. If deodorant really caused cancer, middle school locker rooms would be nationwide death zones. The real danger isn't deodorant, it's not using it. Trust me, if you're skipping it because of this myth, the tumor isn't the problem. The social isolation will be. 40. And my personal favorite, can you actually poop out a tapeworm if you diet right? Yes, there are still people hoping weight loss is as simple as downloading a parasite. The idea is that you swallow a tapeworm egg, let it eat your food, and boom, instant skinny. Which sounds less like a health plan and more like the plot of a bad sci-fi movie. Tapeworms don't make you healthy. They make you malnourished, sick, and occasionally dead. If parasites were diet aids, hospitals would be spas. Imagine a weight loss clinic where the slogan is, "Come for the worms, stay for the diarrhea." No thanks. Eat less, move more, leave the worms out of it. 41. Somebody once typed, "Can my belly button get pregnant?" Yes, because apparently navels are now backup reproductive organs. To be fair, belly buttons are weird. They're basically lint traps attached to your body. But no, you can't get pregnant through one. It's a scar, not a secret hatch. Still, the question lingers online, as if somewhere out there is a baby just waiting to crawl out of a person's torso like a scene from Alien. If belly buttons could reproduce, humanity would have gone extinct ages ago under the sheer confusion of explaining navel babies to science class. 42. Then there's, can I die from eating too many pickles? This sounds like a threat dreamed up by the pickle industry itself. Eat responsibly or else. Truth is, unless you drown in brine or your sodium levels skyrocket, you're not going to keel over mid-crunch. Yes, too much salt is bad, but death by dill? Highly unlikely. Still, the fact people ask makes me imagine ER charts reading, patient consumed 1 jar too many. Cause of death, big pickle. Honestly, if pickles are your downfall, I don't know whether to laugh or applaud your commitment. 43. Google once faced this. Can tattoos get into your bloodstream and poison you? The concern here is that ink behaves like a venom, traveling around your body like a gothic spy. In reality, the ink stays mostly in the skin layers. It doesn't go sightseeing through your veins. Unless you're injecting it in your arteries with a turkey baster, you're fine. But the fear persists because people love believing tattoos are dangerous. If ink poisoned people, half the planet's baristas would be 6 feet under. Instead, the only risk is regretting that Live Laugh Love tramp stamp you got in 2004. 44. Another brilliant one, can you burp out your heart? Apparently some people think hiccups are mild, but a burp could launch your organs like fireworks. The heart isn't floating around in there waiting for an exit. It's strapped in tighter than your neighbor's Christmas lights. Burping won't eject it. It'll just clear gas from your stomach. Yet here we are, with people panicking like their next soda might trigger a cardiac exorcism. If that were true, every frat party would look like a mass casualty event. Burps embarrass you. They don't kill you. Unless you do it on a first date, then yes, you're dead to them. 45. And finally, for this batch, can you get poisoned by drinking too much water? The answer is yes, technically. It's called water intoxication, and it happens when you drown your body in H2O faster than your kidneys can handle. But the people asking aren't marathon runners. They're folks who had 2 extra bottles of Dasani and are now convinced they're about to make the evening news. Here's the truth. If you're chugging water like it's a frat hazing ritual, yes, it's dangerous. But sipping a few extra glasses? Number. The only real hazard is endless bathroom trips. So if you're Googling this while peeing for the 10th time today, congratulations, you're fine, just mildly annoying. 46. Somebody once asked, can shaving your eyebrows make them never grow back? As if eyebrows are magical, one-time use decorations. No, they grow back, though maybe a little patchy if you butcher the job. The fear comes from people who overplucked in the 2000s and are still recovering from trauma. But shaving doesn't permanently erase them. It just makes you look like a Sims character for a few weeks. If eyebrows were truly non-renewable resources, beauty salons would have been classified as war zones decades ago. 47. Then there's, can you get pregnant from sitting on your boyfriend's lap? Apparently, the human body is now a vending machine where close proximity equals instant conception. The logic is mind-bending. Sperm travels through genes, fabric, air, whatever, like tiny ninjas. Reality check. Unless actual sex happens, no baby. Sitting on a lap is not a loophole in biology. If it were, every amusement park with tandem roller coasters would be an accidental daycare. Lap sitting makes you awkward, not pregnant. 48. Someone asked, can eating too much ice cream give me hypothermia? I love this one. People truly think dessert is cold enough to lower their body temp to Arctic levels. Ice cream makes you fat, not frozen. You're not Elsa, you're just lactose intolerant. Hypothermia comes from being stuck outside in a blizzard, not from demolishing a pint of Ben & Jerry's in your pajamas. If eating ice cream actually caused hypothermia, every breakup in history would have been fatal. Cause of death, mint chocolate chip binge. Number. The only chill here is in your stomach. 49. Here's another gem. Can you stretch yourself taller by hanging upside down? Because apparently, gravity is optional if you just dangle like Batman. The truth, you might gain half an inch temporarily because your spine decompresses, but it snaps right back when you stand up again. Yet people still imagine they're one inversion table away from NBA stardom. If stretching actually made you taller, chiropractors would be running draft camps for the Lakers. Instead, all you get is a headache and some very confused neighbors watching you swing in your garage like a budget vampire. 50. Someone Googled, can my hair choke me in my sleep? Technically possible if you're Rapunzel and sleep like a tornado. But realistically, number. Your hair isn't conspiring against you like a vengeful boa constrictor. It tangles, it knots, but it's not strangling you at 3 a.m. Still, people panic like their ponytail is plotting homicide. If hair really could kill, hair salons would double as crime scenes. The worst you'll get is waking up looking like you fought a raccoon. Relax, your hair isn't trying to end you, it's just messy. 51. And here we are, the grand champion of dumb Google questions. Can I sell my kidney on eBay? Yes, this was typed, more than once. People actually thought you could list human organs alongside Beanie Babies and broken iPhones. First of all, illegal. Second of all, disgusting. Third of all, eBay doesn't have a shipping category for fragile full of blood. But the fact that this question exists shows just how desperate and clueless people can be. Imagine the product description. Lightly used, one owner, still works great. If stupidity were a crime, this search would carry a life sentence. Congratulations, humanity. You've officially out-Googled yourself. And that's it. A full guided tour through humanity's most unfiltered stupidity, preserved forever in Google's search history. If nothing else, tonight proved one thing. People will type literally anything into a search bar if it means avoiding a trip to the doctor, or worse, cracking open a book. But hey, you've only heard our favorites. Now it's your turn. Which one wins the crown for dumbest Google search ever? Drop your pick in the comments, or better yet, share the most ridiculous health question you've ever heard in real life. Let's build a library of collective nonsense. And if you actually survived this roller coaster without Googling, why am I watching this? Hit like, subscribe, and stick around. Trust me, the next batch of idiocy is even weirder.